you find that your eyes and your ears and different parts of the body don't function like they used to. So I think I had a professor when I was at university, and his glasses were about this thick, and the only people that he saw in his class of 300 was the front row. And he would stand there like this, and he would talk to the guys in the front row, but he couldn't see beyond that. So I can recognize with him now, as you get a bit older, it's only the people in front that are really interesting. The others are a bit of a blur. All right, are we all back? Are we ready to go? Great. Well, I did say earlier this morning, welcome, but I kind of feel like it's time to say welcome again, because after what we've heard so far, I'm sure you're feeling a sense of there's more to what I'm experiencing in life. And I remember when I had that same sense, and I can't believe that I was only 33 at the time. I had that sense, there's got to be more to life than this. I'd done all the things that the counterfeit world had said you should do. I'd got the education, I had the good job, I had a good income, I was married, I had children, everything that the world said I should have. I even had a house, I had a car. Yet there was something that was missing. And as I encounter people, I find that everybody is in this place where they feel like there is something missing. And that's what Map for Life is actually addressing. It's talking to that missing link. They have the dream, but they don't see any possibility of that dream ever becoming a reality using the counterfeit system. There's a sense of a struggle in a way. I don't know if you've ever been in a place where you've been faced with the need to make a decision, a really important decision. And you're struggling and grappling with this decision that you've got to make, and somebody comes up to you and says this. They say, you're kind of looking for the advice. You really need them to give you some piece of wisdom in this moment, because you just can't make the decision. And then they say something like, just follow your heart. You see, because that one statement holds a key to the future. The reason we are struggling with the decision is we are making the decision in our head, not our heart. And logic is the one thing that will keep you where you are, never being able to step into the vision that you have or that God has given you. Logic is all about what happens in the head, and that's what we've spent our entire life through our growing years acquiring more and more knowledge so that we could make a more informed decision. Yet all the while we have the greatest, most powerful decision-making tool that in fact overrides all the logical decisions anyway in life, because when you see that girl or you see that guy, you don't go through a logical process of evaluating whether this is the right person for you, unless you're over 30, I think. It seems like people that are doing it the second time and the third time round, they start switching to the logic for some reason. Maybe they didn't ever use their heart. But I know when you meet the right person, what does it do? It makes the heart begin to beat a bit more certainly, with more deliberate beats, doesn't it? And so there's something about our heart. And so with Map for Life, it's really about getting you to shift back to your original design. It's about connecting with that part of you that says, this is the right thing for me to do. It ignores the logic. It puts the logic aside, because all that logic can do is limit you. Logic limits you to what has been done before. It cuts out all of the invisible. It cuts out all of the impossible things. In fact, logic will keep you from trying anything new. And so this morning, if you can just grasp that you have permission, not only permission, but you have been mandated to see into the future, that which does not yet exist, as if it does, and the eyes for that ability are in your heart, not your head. And so I have to keep reminding myself, and what I want to do this morning is remind you that you have another set of eyes, a set of eyes that are far more powerful. I don't have to be concerned about the fact that I have no 20/20 vision in order to have 20/20 vision. What's amazing is when you look with your heart, you can see perfectly what no other person can see. The only person who can see the future that you picture right now is you. That means you are perfectly created for that which you have seen. I think the word imperfection is something that we have designed in our own life to say that we need something other than what we already have. We look at and we compare ourselves with other people, and because we are not like them, we think we have something missing. We are incomplete. I want to remind you that you are incomplete because the way that you were created was to be able to complete other people. We are part of a bigger body. None of us has everything. We just have one part. And so we need to begin to connect with that part which we were given, our gifts and our talents. Any skill that you've acquired through the counterfeit world is a skill that's going to keep you from practicing your gifts and talents. It's going to require you to work hard for the rest of your life. But when you connect with your gifts and talents, suddenly it's like you are going downhill. It's not like the uphill journey, the uphill struggle, climbing the ladder to get to the top. When you connect with your gifts and talents, it's like you're on a downhill. Everything just begins to happen naturally. You flow in the process. And so making that little shift, it's like looking at the future that looks like that to a future that looks like this. I mean, when you get to the top of the mountain, just think for a moment. What is it that people look at? They look down at the view. They look down and say, wow, isn't that such a great place? I mean, so why not just go down there in the first place? Why go to the top to get the view when you can actually live in it? And it's these kinds of shifts that we've got to make. And the heart allows us to make that shift. The head prevents us from doing it. I find that people and things talk to the head. God talks to the heart. There was the first time I met Miles Monroe, I went up and asked him to autograph a book that I bought from him. It was in 1996, July 1996, at a conference called Progress 96. And Tony Campolo, Rick Godwin, and Miles Monroe were the guest speakers. And he was a young guy in his early 40s, and I stood in this queue waiting for him to sign my book. I was 30 years old at the time. I was asking this question, why am I here? And he wrote inside the book a verse of scripture which just said Proverbs 16 verse 9. And I knew what that proverb was, but I had to go and check, kind of page through, find Proverbs first, in the Bible. I don't know if you have struggled like I do sometimes. You kind of know that it exists. It's somewhere in the Bible, but where is it? Before Psalms, after Psalms? And I found it. Proverbs 16 verse 9. And it says in there, a man writes down his plans, or a man makes his plans, God directs the steps. And I misinterpreted that to mean that I can plan whatever I want, but God is going to take me where He wants, irrespective of my will. And that's not true. What it's saying is something quite different to me today. What it's saying there is, if I write down the plan that God has placed on my life, then I can just step in faith, because God has already ensured the provision for those steps of faith are in place. In other words, the people, the resources, everything necessary to make that plan become a reality, because it's His plan, is there just waiting for somebody to step in faith. And so your future, the future that you have been designed to create, is already created. It's just waiting for you and I to step in faith to reveal what already exists. We don't have to first acquire the resources. We don't have to go and work ourselves to death to get a paycheck which just about pays the bills for the food that we eat. We can step in faith, and provisions beyond your wildest dream will be revealed. Do you know what is interesting? In February this year, I was doing a talk where, not a talk, I was doing a training. And at this training, there was one young guy participating in the training. And at the end of it, because I was busy sharing our vision to be established in 200 countries around the world. And he happened to be working in a country called Madagascar. And in earshot of the CEO of the company that he works for, he said, "Why isn't Map for Life in Madagascar?" Now, he didn't know that 2 years before, I was sitting at one of our map cafes in Sandton City, and a visitor came to that map cafe, and I asked this visitor, I said, "Would you like to be one in 28 million? Not a 1 in a million person." I said, "Would you like to be 1 in 28 million? And he said, "Yes." So I gave him a copy of Map for Life, and I said, "You are the first, to my knowledge, the first person of Madagascar who now has a copy of Map for Life." And you know something, in February this year, when this young man said, "Why aren't we in Madagascar?" the CEO thought about that. And in between February and April, their company went through a process of reimagining their future. And they came up with a new slogan, and the slogan was "Good for Growth," which would lead to growing for good. And in that process, they realized that what Map for Life has is exactly what they need to grow people. Because if they can grow people and focus on that, the people will help them to grow a great company. And so what happened was, on the 13th of April this year, I was in Madagascar training 24 people. By the way, there was supposed to only be 12. Double the number of people arrived in this training. And there I was in Antananarivo, or Tana, I think as they refer to it, doing something that I had not put on my schedule to do at this particular time. However, in the year 1999, I said we would be established in 200 countries by 2020. Because I wrote that down, that led to this happening. Because when that young man said, "Why aren't you in Madagascar?" I said, "Good question, it's part of our program." And just those words resulted in something happening. And there's going to be many things taking place in Madagascar as a result. You see, when you write your vision down, it will become a reality. It's not dependent on you. Your ability has nothing to do with it. Your gift and your talent will give you the indication of what it is you should engage your life in. I was just chatting to someone earlier to say, you know, we have Map for Life members in over 90 countries around the world. But what's more exciting is that we now have trainers in 24 countries. And what's interesting is, in the last training or train the trainer program, we had 24 people in the 24th country going through Map for Life. Now, does anybody here know somebody outside of South Africa? Some of you have been closeted in your little hometown for your whole life. But imagine if you spoke to somebody in another country and they spoke to someone else. Can you see how quickly and rapidly something can expand? You see, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And when I look at the hopelessness in the world today, I know that the time for a tool of this kind has come, because people need hope, and nothing gives you more hope than a clearly understood purpose for your life. Mark Zuckerberg was talking last year, and I'd encourage you to go and listen to the video that we have on our website, because he was talking about the greatest need in the world today. And it's not great jobs that pay great money. People are seeking purpose. They want to know that they are engaged in something that has meaning, something that's going to bring about something positive, that their life is going to have some value that it adds. That's what people are seeking today. And so when I hear someone like him addressing the final year students at Harvard University and saying that what the world needs today is purpose, I say the time for MAP has arrived. And you are part of that. Everybody wants to be part of something in the beginning. You dream, sometimes you meet somebody and say, if only I was there back when this started, just look where I could be today. I want to tell you, you are at the beginning. You are at the place of starting. It's other people that are going to look back to you and say, if only I was there on the 5th of May 2018 when you were sitting in that room. If only I was there, look where I could be today. People are going to say the same thing about you. People are going to be listening to you. I can see Stanley talking to other people in other parts of the world. Why? Because I have the ability to imagine. You have the ability to imagine. I can see Ishmael talking to thousands of school kids, maybe all over Africa, maybe in different parts of the world. I can see that, but it doesn't matter what I can see. The question is, can you see it? Because if you can see your future, that's the future that's going to become a reality. It doesn't matter what dreams I have for you. Those are irrelevant. My dreams are going to become a reality whether you are part of it or not, because I can see it. The question is, what do you see? There isn't a country in the world, there isn't a group of people in the world that does not need purpose and direction. And so there's three things that I'm going to close with this morning, and that is, one, the problem that people face today is simply directionless existence. People getting up in the morning not knowing why. I love the concept of the freeway and the exit signs. When we go into Cape Town, we stick on the freeway and we head to Cape Town. We don't take the exits of distraction along the way. But when you get up in the morning and you are directionless, every exit looks like an opportunity. Every aisle in the supermarket is one to go down. But when you know where you're going, you walk directly to where it is that which you are seeking exists. And so if we are in a world of directionless existence, then a tool that gives you direction is needed. We also sit in a place where everybody has inside of them an aspiration, something that they would really like to see happen. And it's just two words, and those two words are abundant life. People describe it in different ways. But somebody came about 2,000 years ago and he said this, he said, I have come that you might have life and life in abundance. If we just look at that, we can then understand that he knew what your deepest desire is. And your deepest desire is to be able to live free and do that which you were passionately created to do, without any concern, without any worry, knowing that when you step in faith, the floor will be there to support you when it lands, even if there is or appears to be none right now. So abundant life is our natural desire. Everybody on the planet has it. So the answer, or rather the solution for me, is simply the two words, purposeful living. And so one of the questions that we are born to ask, in fact, I think it's the only question that we are born to ask. It's one word, and the question is, why? Anne is looking after a young child right now. She's about 6 months of age. She already stretches out and grasps things. She's asking a question nobody can hear because she cannot speak yet. But I know that when she is able to speak, she is going to reveal the key to life. And it's one question, and the question that she's going to ask over and over and over again is why? But you know, when she begins to ask that question, there is a counterfeit world, a counterfeit kingdom that's going to impose another question, a question of destruction, a question that's going to stop you in your tracks, a question that's going to prevent you from acting on that which is in your heart, force you to act on what's in your head. And the question is how? And when you ask the question how, which is going to be not the natural question to ask, it's going to be the one that comes to mind first because you've been brainwashed to ask that question. Whenever your vision comes, you're going to ask the question how, and immediately you ask that question, you sow the seeds of doubt, and you begin to destroy the very vision that your heart has revealed. Not your head, your heart reveals the vision. And so this morning, as we are here today, these words that I speak are going to your head. But some of them touch your heart. And it's the ones that touch your heart that you need to listen to. It's the ones that touch your heart that activate you. It's the ones that touch your heart that change the world, not the head. And so we are here this morning, maybe passing a bit of time, some other people might think. I would like to imagine that as we are sitting here together, or that you're listening to this particular talk, that we are actually in a germination factory. We kind of buried. You know, the world doesn't know we're here. We're buried in a dark place. But it's in that burial, in that dark place where the death of the outer skin, the death of that which is insignificant takes place, so that what is really significant can be birthed, and in time the world will see. In time the tree will be there that provides shelter, that provides shade, that provides a home for the birds, that provides food. Everything necessary will come as a result of germination. And so today is a day for germination. For me, for you, for everyone. An opportunity for us to connect with the real passion of our heart. Because when we do, the steps have already been ordered. The resources are already in place. And you and I can walk up to what appears to be the finish line. And when we get there, we will realize that the end of our life was actually the beginning of that which God called us to do. It's been great chatting to you this morning. I hope that we're going to go and create a lot of shade for many people in all corners of the earth, because our mission is to go into all nations and all people. And that is in every one of our hearts. I trust that it's going to be true for you and for those that you meet. Thank you.